New details have emerged, and a full analysis of the daring special operation by the Security Service of Ukraine on Russian territory when on June 1st Ukraine struck several long-range strategic aviation airfields in Russia and destroyed a large number of strategic bombers. In this episode, we will discuss with you exactly how this special operation took place, talk about the new details that have just become known, and go over the full results of this attack. And we will try to reconstruct this entire special operation of the Security Service of Ukraine on Russian territory. My name is Alexei Pechi. Today is June 3rd on the calendar. All the details of this special operation called Pautina have been gathered in this episode. Plus, I added some insider information that has literally just become known. Before we begin, I ask you to subscribe to this channel, leave a like and write your comment under this episode. Also subscribe to the Telegram channel Pechi News. The link to it is in the description of this video. There, we publish breaking news as soon as it comes in. So, as I already said, new details have emerged about how the Security Service of Ukraine carried out a special operation called Pautina to destroy Russian strategic bombers. The targets of the attacks were 4 airfields located deep inside Russia, the farthest of which is the Belaya base in the Irkutsk region, approximately 310 miles from the Russia-Ukraine border. In the Irkutsk region, about 311 miles from the Russia-Ukraine border. Other targets included the Olenia base near Murmansk, beyond the Arctic Circle, more than 2,000 kilometers from Ukraine. The Diaghilevo air base in the Ryazan region is about 500 kilometers from Ukraine, and the Ivanovo air base, which serves as a base for Russian military transport aircraft, is about 800 kilometers from the border. The visualization provided by the Security Service of Ukraine also showed another base in the eastern part of the Amur region as a target. This is the Ukrainka base, but it is unclear whether the attack on this base failed or was cancelled. At the very least, they are now gathering information about this. It is likely that the vast distances from the border with Ukraine made Russia complacent about protecting these facilities. The most valuable aircraft at the Belaya base were regularly parked in a visible spot at the airfield and were clearly seen in publicly available satellite images, including on maps. In satellite images from Maxar, you can see aircraft parked at the airfield next to something that looks like a decoy. That is, these are painted aircraft on the runways. Apparently in Moscow, they decided that this distance is enough to protect the aircraft from Ukrainian attacks. Russia currently maintains air superiority over Ukraine, although Kyiv's allies have supplied Ukraine with some long-range missile systems, including American Army Tactical Missile System missiles and British-French Storm Shadow. None of them has enough range to strike so deep into Russian territory. Ukraine uses drones against targets on Russian territory, including in Moscow. However, their low flight speed makes them relatively easy targets for Russian air defense systems. That's where the boldness of the attack really showed itself. Instead of trying to launch drones from right at the border, Ukraine managed to bring these drones directly to the targets they planned to strike and launch them from there. Russian radars and air defense systems at these bases were not prepared for such a low altitude and sudden attack. The only effective way to stop such an attack is with large caliber machine guns. Russia used them against Ukrainian naval drones in the Black Sea. However, either they were not available or they were not deployed quickly enough at the air bases that were attacked by Ukraine on Sunday. And most likely because Russia simply did not anticipate this kind of attack. Accordingly, it's possible that these machine guns were there, but they definitely didn't have time to respond. In addition, now open source intelligence analysts have already managed to verify and geolocate photos and videos from the scene, thereby confirming the location of those vans near the air bases from which the strikes were carried out. The Russian Ministry of Defense, in its statement, confirmed that the attacks, which it called terrorist attacks, were carried out from the vicinity of the airfields. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky reported that 117 drones were used in the operation. According to the Security Service of Ukraine, the drones were smuggled into Russia by its operatives. At some point, already inside Russia, The drones were hidden in mobile wooden sheds. And in the photographs, you can see that the drones are hidden right under the metal roofs of the so-called hangars or sheds placed in insulated compartments. You can see these photographs on your screens now, can't you? Then these wooden sheds were loaded onto trucks and taken to locations situated near the airbase. Ukraine has not disclosed exactly how it managed to deliver the vehicle in close proximity to important military facilities. Unnoticed? However, reports in Russian media suggest that it was relatively easy. Several sources in Russia immediately reported that the trucks were purchased by a Ukrainian living in Russia, who then simply paid 4 drivers to deliver these trucks to wherever he needed them. That's where this video came from, where one of the eyewitnesses says that the truck driver near Balaya Airfield was simply in shock. Confused, he explained, "I followed the order, delivered it to the specified location, and now I'm here." And then something like this happens. Neither the Russian nor the Ukrainian authorities have commented on these reports. However, the Russian state news agency, Russian Information Agency, reported that the authorities of Irkutsk Oblast are searching for a man suspected of involvement in the attack. The security service of Ukraine stated that the operatives who participated in the operation have safely returned to Ukraine. By the time the attack began, Zelensky said that they worked in several Russian regions, covering 3 time zones. Today, a full video reconstruction of exactly how this attack was organized has already appeared online. Ukrainian engineers developed a smart drone launch system disguised as ordinary wooden cabins installed on the back of trucks. These mobile containers looked like simple rural sheds, but inside they contained reinforced structures, hidden launch platforms, battery charging stations, and remotely controlled drones on the roof. The design allowed drones to be launched both vertically and at an angle, depending on their type, and the built-in signal shielding helped them avoid early detection by Russian intelligence. As soon as these mobile cabins were ready, Ukrainian intelligence agents, possibly with the help of local supporters, moved them deep into Russian territory. The trucks were discreetly delivered to pre-selected locations near key air bases and parked in places such as forests, farms, or industrial zones, where they blended in with the landscape. They sat idle for several days or even weeks with preloaded and charged drones waiting for the command to strike. When the time came, encrypted activation signals were sent, the container roofs opened, and the drones took off. Some took off vertically, others used ramps or compressed air launch systems for a silent start. Since the launch sites were located just a few kilometers from the targets, the drones were able to quickly reach their objectives, leaving the Russian defense no time to react. Operators controlled the drones in real time, using live video feeds to precisely direct the drones toward parked aircraft, fuel depots, and radar installations. And now comes the most interesting part. The thing is, sources in the Ukrainian drone development program report that the pilots controlling all these first-person view drones that attacked strategic bombers in Russia were not located near the places from which they were launched. An internet center was set up in Russia, allowing pilots to control these drones remotely. Each of the pilots launched one drone at a time, hitting each target one after another. That is, if there were 117 drones, then there were simultaneously 117 first-person view drone operators involved who remotely launched them and attacked the aircraft with these drones. The source also reported that the communication hub could be an ordinary Russian mobile phone, which is much harder to track than other systems, such as those widely used in Ukraine. So there was no need to overthink things here, nothing super secret or complicated at all. There was no need to bring in, a system and install it in this van just to control things. No, it turns out you could just remotely turn on a mobile phone at the right moment, which would transmit the signal. In addition, sources in the security service of Ukraine have already confirmed that the attack was indeed carried out through Russian telecommunications networks. That is, using Russian mobile communications. As soon as the trucks were in place and the drones were ready to fly, the roofs of the cabins opened and the drones flew toward their targets. In the video recording of the attack in Irkutskaya Oblast in the southeast of Russia, published on social networks and confirmed by geolocation, 2 drones can be seen taking off from a truck. In the image, you can see in the distance how they are heading toward the Belaya airbase, where thick dark smoke is already billowing from a previous strike. In another video from the same location, you can see that the truck used to transport the drones caught fire after apparently a self-destruction process of this truck was initiated. On Sunday, Zelensky stated that the attack had been prepared over the course of a year, 6 months and 9 days, and praised the security services for a brilliant operation. Russian officials are downplaying the scale of the attack, stating that the strikes were repelled in Ivanovo, Ryazan and Amur regions. But several aircraft caught fire after the attack in Murmansk and Irkutsk regions. They added that the fires have since been extinguished. Well, and also, according to Russian officials, there were no casualties or injuries. That's a key point. Ukraine attacked legitimate military targets on Russian territory and did so without any casualties, destroying several dozen Russian aircraft. But while the Russian authorities tried to downplay the scale of the attack, several well-known Russian Z military correspondents spoke out with criticism. And there is a Russian military blog there called Ryber. He stated that the attack led to a tragic loss for the entire Russian air fleet and was the result of criminal negligence. The security service of Ukraine has already stated that as a result of the strikes, damage amounting to about $7 billion was inflicted and 34% of Russia's strategic cruise missile carriers at its main air bases were hit. Ukraine stated that it destroyed several strategic bombers, including Tu-95 and Tu-22 M3, as well as one of the few remaining A-50 reconnaissance aircraft in Russia. A representative of the Ukrainian Air Force, Yuri Inat, reported that although some aircraft were completely destroyed and some were damaged beyond repair, still some of them may possibly be restored. Although, according to him, they will most likely be taken out of service for a long time. In addition, sources report that 27 Tu-95 aircraft 4-2, 160 aircraft 2-2, 22 M3 aircraft and 1 A-50 aircraft were hit. Tu-22. The Tu-3 is a Russian long-range missile strike aircraft capable of delivering strikes from a distance, launching missiles from Russian airspace far from the front line, remaining out of reach of Ukrainian air defense systems. And according to the Military Balance 2025 report prepared by the Analytical Center of the International Institute for Strategic Studies, as of early 2023, Russia's fleet comprised 55 Tu, 55 M3 and 57 Tu-95 aircraft, per the Analytical Center of the International Institute for Strategic Studies. As of early 2023, Russia's fleet comprised 55 Tu, 22 M3 and 57 Tu-95 aircraft. It entered service with the Soviet Air Force back in the 1950s, and Russia has modified them to launch cruise missiles just like the Tu-22. Well, experts say that replacing these aircraft for Russia would be unrealistic, completely impossible, since they have not been produced for many decades. And the most that Russia has done with the strategic bombers is to dismantle some of them for spare parts in order to repair others. So, they don't produce these aircraft, and this really is a huge loss for them. So friends, I'll put an ellipsis here. I think we can return to this topic only if there are new attacks on Russian airfields. For now, I'll put an ellipsis. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments under this episode, subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and don't forget to like.